Hey, what's cracking? It is Saturday, March 11th, 2023. We got a little snow outside. I don't know if you can see out that window. A little bit of snow sticking to the grass. Nothing really sticking to the concrete per se. Took my dog for a nice walk. He likes the snow for some reason. We're kind of polar opposites. I don't like the snow. A little bit's okay. And then tonight at 2 in the morning, I should say early tomorrow morning, around 2 o'clock, I think, we got to roll the clock up 1 hour. So I'm going to have 1 extra hour of daylight in the evening. So that's going to make me feel better. I'll be grilling out more. I like to cook on the grill, and I got a motorcycle that I enjoy. So I will be spending more time riding that motorcycle. It's like some good therapy for me. I don't know, I just love getting on two wheels. There's just something about it. I know it's dangerous, but I enjoy riding the motorcycle. So, I'm looking forward to that. I want to talk about, so it's been about 30 days that I've been on this DexCom 6 continuous glucose monitoring system. I'm having really good success. I'm hitting the gym, so I'm starting to work out more. So I'm feeling good about that. But the CGM, it's just been remarkable for me. I have not had to do a blood sugar, poke my finger, that is, in 30 days almost. So if you see that, look at that number, that's 94. We got the sideways arrow. That means I'm holding steady. So that's like perfect. I mean, if I could just be 94 all the time, life would be awesome. Life is awesome, but I just wish I could be 94 all the time. That's not realistic for a type 1 diabetic, but I will take the wins when I can get them. And then I have the Omnipod 5 insulin delivery system that has been just fantastic. I just love the freedom of it. So I'm feeling really good. Mentally, I feel like I'm the strongest I've been. I think once you kind of have, a chronic illness such as type 1 diabetes kind of looming over you for your entire life, and now I got a little bit of freedom. I'm just feeling really, really good about it. And it's a good spot to be in. It seems like it's taken forever for technology to kind of pick up. And now it's like we're there. And so I'm really excited for the future. I can only imagine things are going to get easier and better, and maybe I'll be able to live a normal life one day, right? How cool would that be? That's what I'm hoping for. So, the album I want to talk about came out about the same time that I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I was diagnosed just a little bit after this album came out. So the album came out on October 12th, 1987. October 12th is a big day in my family. My oldest brother was born on October 12th. So if Jason is watching this, I don't know who watches my videos, but he was watching it. This album came out on your birthday in 1987. So it is one of my favorite albums. In fact, I remember having it on cassette, nearly wore it out. And then when CDs came out, it was an album that I had to have on compact disc. And now I have it on vinyl. So, and I have it on digital also. So I think when you think of like your coming of age, like the music that you kind of remember, kind of, and like maybe when you're first starting to like, dive into music and maybe getting a love and a thirst for it. So this album was huge for me. I remember as a kid, I was living on a farm at that time, and I remember having a Walkman, a cassette system, right, with the little headphones. And so sometimes, and it was battery operated, double A's, it just ran through double A's like crazy, I remember. But I remember listening to this album. So like, when you're on a tractor, it's not like, especially the one I operated, it was an old Ford 8N, so it was a gasoline powered. That's kind of the one that I operated quite a bit as a kid. And so I would always try to bring some music to kind of just jam out to while I'm working. Cut a lot of grass with the bush hog behind that Ford 8N. And then I raked some hay. So, but I always remember listening to music even back then. And the record that I'm about to talk about is, it's a record that I listened to all the time when I was in 6th grade. Right here, INXS-Kick. So worldwide, it sold 20 million albums. And then here in the US, 6 million copies have been sold. And to me, it's a perfect album. You know, it's pop, it's rock, it's got some funk to it. There's some saxophone in it, which I really enjoy. But the lead singer, Michael Hutchence, he was like the first. So, you know, I remember the Doors. So you have Jim Morrison, lead singer of the Doors, obviously a rock god. Michael Hutchence was also a rock god, and he's the guy right here. And you know, just poured out rock star. You know, leather pants, did the pelvic thrust. You know, he was born to be on stage. He was a very magnetic, charismatic guy, and he had a good voice. And so this album, INXS-Kick, was actually INXS's 6th album, but it was their largest commercial success, I believe. And it's the one that got me hooked on INXS. And to this day, this album means a lot to me. And I don't know if it's just because it's ingrained in my head, you know, as a kid, you know, operating that tractor, you know, so I got memories of that. And then listening to it pretty much every night before I went to bed, I was listening to this record. It's got a mixture of pop, and there's some really, really good love songs on this. And so I'm going to get to that. But INXS-Kick, so the cool little skateboard. Obviously, you got this guy, he's got the little revolver on his belt buckle. I think that's really cool. And then the back of it, it's just fun. So this is gatefold, so it's going to open up. So you can see that, it says Kick. And it's got Michael Hutchence, you know, kind of pointing, obviously the rock star that he is. And then here's the back of it. So absolutely, this is a treasure of an album for me. And anytime that, you know, like if I go to the gym and I need one album just to like kind of push me, it's this one. If I'm driving and things are getting stagnant or stale, it's this one. It's just super special to me. So I bought this one. On the back, it says number 4,882. So I think they printed 10,000 of these. I always kind of take that with a grain of, you know, salt. It's like a grain of sand, whatever. They can print more. So it says it's a special limited edition. Yeah, maybe this pressing they did 10,000, but who says that they can't amp it up another 10,000 or 20, whatever they wanted to. But regardless, I have it on vinyl. And so I want to speak about this album, not just because it reminds me of my youth. I think it's still special to this date. And I know that Andrew Ferris, Andrew Ferris and Michael Hutchence, they wrote this album, like all the lyrics, those two did together. And then the band came in and they added the music after the lyrics were written. So they just wrote a masterpiece, in my opinion. And like I said, it's like a mixture of, you know, just awesome music. So there's some really good pop songs on this, and I will get to that. I need to put my glasses on so I can read a little bit better. Kind of handsome with them, right? Haha. So, yeah, released in '87, man. The world was in kind of just like a free era, I felt. I don't know, maybe it's because of my youth. I didn't know what was going on in the world. But the first song is called Guns in the Sky. And so they wrote that, and Michael Hutchence, he and Andrew Ferris were writing about kind of the world's infatuation with weapons, guns. And so fast forward to today, you know, all these years later, and I think that thirst for weapons has only grown. And, you know, we got a lot of kind of scary times going on over in the Ukraine with Russia. Obviously, weapons are all over. You know, you think about all the violence just in this country due to weapons. So, Guns in the Sky. It's a great opening song. It's very poppy, and it's the only one that really talks about guns. And so I know that Andrew Ferris had talked about. So when they got together, they said they wanted to write just all hits. You know, they wanted every song on this to be a radio hit, and several were. And he said that anyone can write contemporary songs. He said, but they wanted to write songs that were in the future. And I feel like they did that. Like, I feel like some of these songs could be released today and they would blend in perfectly. And I think that's hard to do with an album, but I think they did it with this one. So like I said, it opens up with Guns in the Sky. New Sensation is the second song, another poppy song. You know, it's just a good rock sound. And lyrically, you know, they just, some of, you know, it's not bubblegummy, you know, I mean, it's not, even though it's pop, it's not bubblegum pop. It's just good, solid rock and roll pop. The third song is Devil Inside. And I think that kind of speaks to greed and money and obsession, and just real powerful. Got a great bass line. And, you know, and then the lyrics, you know, so they say words are weapons sharper than knives. And how true is that? Like, how many times have you said something and it's out, and boom, those words are weapons, and you can't take them back, like the hurt and the pain. Whether you are the soundboard of hearing those words or you're the mouthpiece, words can be very, very devastating and destructive. They can also be uplifting and full of love and care. So words can be super powerful. They can be positive or negative. And so Devil Inside obviously speaks to just, I don't know, I mean, it's just awesome. I love the song Devil Inside. I think it's one that could be released today and would just fit in perfectly. So it goes into Need You Tonight. Now that's a really, really, really good love song. I believe it was written in Hong Kong, and I think Andrew Ferris, Andrew Ferris and Michael shared an apartment in Hong Kong, and so they were writing these songs back in like '86 and trying to figure out what was going to go on the album. And I think as the story goes, they were like in a cab, and I think a moment struck, and I think Andrew said, hey, you gotta let me go inside just for a minute, I gotta pick something up. And it was so he could record, you know, the vocal or the lyrics to some of this. And so he was gone for like 45 minutes and came back, and I guess the cab driver was just hot, angry. And anyway, Need You Tonight was partially written because he took some time to get out of that cab. So I think that's a great story. And I really love the song Need You Tonight. You know, I'm kind of a softie, kind of like the ballads, I kind of like the love songs. They're real powerful when you're with somebody, you know, that you really like, and you play that music. So I remember in junior high at dances, you know, and I'll get to one song here in a second, but you know, there's not a junior high dance that didn't go by, you know, a junior high dance that didn't have the song Never Tear Us Apart. So I'm going to get to that in a second. But so really love Devil Inside, love Need You Tonight. Both of those were commercial radio hits here in the U.S. Mediate is a pop song, great lyrics. They just flow perfectly. I love Mediate. And so, you know, if memory serves correct on this, I think every word ends with like an 8. So try not to hate, gravitate, you know, you kind of get it, right? So I love Mediate. And then the last song on side A is called The Loved One. And I didn't know that it was a cover song until just like maybe 6 months ago. I thought The Loved One it sounds like an INXS written song. But it was written by an Australian band. So INXS is from Australia, but I think there was another Australian band that wrote The Loved One. And that's another great love song. And an inside A, so I remember as a kid, you know, falling asleep on, you know, listening to side A. And when you got to, you know, The Loved One, you know, you're kind of drifting off into this dream world, you know. And so I just love that song. Didn't realize it was a cover, but it truly is. But if you listen to it, you would think it's INXS. It just, like, those guys made it their own. And I think that's super powerful. Then it goes into Wildlife. So that's the first song on side B. And that's another poppy song. I think they just, like whoever put this album together did it perfectly. So pop into like just kind of these magnetic love songs. And Wildlife is a perfect opener for the second side of the record. And then it goes into Never Tear Us Apart. And that, oh my goodness, is that a good song? It's one of my favorites. I don't know, like when you're in love, never tear us apart. Like you think nothing can tear you apart. And then sometimes stuff does tear you apart, unfortunately. And so for me, like I said, you know, the junior high dances, I remember slow dancing, you know, to Never Tear Us Apart. And so obviously, you know, when you're a kid, you know, you're starting to like, you know, I kind of like these girls, you know, and I remember slow dancing, you know, and that kind of being a special song. And to this day, it still is a special song. I think it's incredible. So I love Never Tear Us Apart. Lyrically, it's just a masterpiece. And just the keyboards to it. There's some saxophone in that one that just blends in. And it's just a fantastic song. You know, I don't know who could cover that today and make it as good as the original, but I would like to see it. You know, if there's a band out there that could do Never Tear Us Apart, I think it would be fun to kind of open that one back up and you know, maybe breathe some new life into it. But Never Tear Us Apart is just fantastic. Absolutely love it. Then it goes into Mystify and Kick, and both of those, well, actually, and then Calling All Nations and Tiny Daggers. So that's how side B finishes up, and they're just good rock pop songs. Tiny Daggers is awesome. It's the last song, and you know, when they say who put those tiny daggers in your heart, it's pretty powerful. You know, I mean, if you've ever felt that way, that's suffocating. But it's a pop song, so you don't really feel like this dramatic kind of air release, you know, kind of like Never Tear Us Apart. So like if you have in your head of someone who you cared about at one point, Never Tear Us Apart will kind of put you back in that spot maybe. Tiny Daggers kind of has the lyrics of a sad ballad, but it's poppy, and it finishes just, I don't know, I just love this record. And I think I'm always gonna love INXS-Kick. I love it. You know, you've got four letters. I think it's just perfect. You got the 4 stars. You got the rock star. So Michael Hutchence, he died, I think it was officially ruled a suicide. He was down, I think, at the Ritz-Carlton in maybe Sydney, Australia. And a little bit about him. So obviously this rock god, you know, I mean, he just had stage presence, and I always liked him. You know, when I think of rock stars, like true rock stars, I think of Jim Morrison, and I think of Michael Hutchence. And, you know, they both, their flames burn out way too early on in their lives. But Michael was found dead. I guess he took his belt off and, you know, in the hotel room. And he was going through some depression. So I think they found cocaine in his blood, alcohol, Prozac, and then some other prescription drugs. So I think he was, so he had a daughter and he wanted to see her. And so the woman that he had his daughter with, her name was Paula Yates. And she was married to Bob Geldof. So a little bit about Bob Geldof. So the first time I ever heard of that guy, he's the main role in Pink Floyd The Wall. So if you've ever seen that cerebral movie, which I saw about the same time that this record came out, INXS-Kick, Bob Geldof is his name. So I think he was kind of like a royal jerk or a-hole, you know. And he was married to this Paula Yates, and so Michael was a playboy, had all the hot models, you know. I mean, he was a good-looking guy, you know, carried himself well, charismatic. and a rock star. So of course he had all the beautiful women. And so he had a daughter with Paulie Yates, and I think Bob Geldof got in the way of seeing his daughter, and he just couldn't handle it. And so he ended his life. And I think that there was like rumor that maybe, you know, it's this autoerotic, you know, asphyxiation, you know, that he was sexually trying to, you know, enjoy himself or whatever. And so that has been deemed false. So he committed suicide by hanging. And it sucks because I can only imagine where these guys would be today to just keep putting out good hits. And so it's tragic. You know, I remember, you know, when I found out he died, I mean, it was tough because I've been a fan of INXS, and it's kind of like, you know, a rock god. And then when you hear these guys, like Chris Cornell, you know, when he hung himself, it's like, man, they got the world by the horns. Like, but depression, man, once that sets in and you can't see light, it's a tough spot to be in, you know, and you got to dig deep, and you got to just keep working and trying to get yourself through it, because life goes on, and it does get better. You know, it's not to say that it's all you know, perfect, because life isn't perfect. You know, I think part of life is some tragedy and some sadness, and so it can't just all be, you know, just this beacon of light, even though we want it to be. I think there's value in some sadness too, you know, there's some sobriety in that. And, you know, I think we need to feel a little bit of sadness, you know, and I'm not trying to sound, you know, negative, because no one likes feeling sad. I certainly don't. But I think it's just part of life. And you got to dig down. And so some of these rock stars that kill themselves, it's like, gosh, they have all the money in the world, all the fame, and it's still not enough. And so I kind of struggle with, like, what happened? You know, I mean, I guess maybe, you know, you've reached all the pinnacles in life, and I don't know, you know, how you get the next high. You know, some of them turn to, you know, narcotics. And so it's rumored that, you know, at the funeral, so they played Never Tear Us Apart. So I guess when they were bringing the casket down, the band of INXS was carrying him in, and they were playing the song Never Tear Us Apart, which I think, obviously, it's a perfect love song. And I'm glad that they played it at his funeral. But it was rumored that Paulie Yates, the girl, or the woman that he had his child with, slipped a gram of heroin into his casket, and, you know, into his pocket, which that's probably rock star, you know, oh, it's cool, you know, but they said that she slipped some heroin. She ultimately died from a opioid overdose. I think she died of a heroin overdose. So there might be some truth to it. I don't know. It's just what I've read. And so INXS, I think it's a perfect band name, you know, doing stuff in excess. I think, you know, I think you can do love in excess. You know, you can enjoy life in excess and music. I don't know. I think, you know, this album is just a perfect blend of the, you know, party and, I don't know, just awesomeness. So I will always like INXS-Kick, and I'm glad I talked about it. Spring's around the corner. I can't wait. You know, I'm gonna do a little bit of golf, I think, this year. I didn't get a whole lot in last year, but I'm hoping to get maybe a little bit more in. I kind of got my eye on a different car, so I'm hoping maybe in the next 60 days, maybe getting a different car. It's not gonna be brand new, but it'll kind of get my eye on a cool car. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. And I don't know, I mean, I just feel good. I just feel like I'm in a good spot. You know, my diabetes is like, I feel the best I have in years. And, you know, I'm hitting the gym, I'm getting on the elliptical, and that's good for getting cardio. And I don't know, you know, I mean, so sometimes you just wake up and you're like, you know, I think it's going to be a good year. And I'm starting to write again. So I'm working on my second book. So I self-published a book a few years back, and I'm working on my second one. trying to get motivation and draw ideas through, obviously, music. Music's a big factor. You know, I lean on music a lot. I'm a lover of music. I like all arts. So yeah, I'm going to see Willie Nelson in a couple months. A little bit about Willie Nelson. So I grew up listening to him. My mother always liked him. My dad also. So I got good childhood memories of Willie Nelson. And he's like 90 years old now. And I think last year, you know, he got COVID, and surprisingly, you know, with the state of his emphysema in his lungs, he pulled through. So Willie's supposed to be here on this planet still, and I'm very happy for that, and I'm really excited. So I'll be seeing him for my third time. The first time I saw him was about 8 years ago, and a beautiful woman took me to that show. We had a great time, and then the second time that I saw him, I was with some family members, and saw him open up for the Avett Brothers. So got good memories of that show also. So I'm really looking forward to it. He's going to be in Council Bluffs, and might be the last time I get to see him. Who knows? Willie's just like an old clock. He just keeps ticking, though. You know, I mean, you think of all the people that COVID has taken away from this planet. They didn't take Willie. COVID did not take Willie, and I'm thankful for that. So I get to see him one more time, the Lord willing. So I'm glad I got to do another one of these. I love talking about music. I'm going to try to talk about maybe some more movies and some books that I'm reading. I'm just a fan of the arts, and I think the arts need to be discussed. And so that is what I'm here for. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well, and if you made it this far, thank you. I hope you have subscribed to my channel. If you haven't, click on subscribe. I would appreciate it. And until next time, be well, take care, and let's just continue to leave the world behind a better place. Let's do that. I think we owe that to one another. Take care. We'll see you.